Welcome back, or welcome to my channel if you've never been here before. I am very blessed that you clicked in to see what I have to say, but more importantly, I hope that the message is clear. I hope that it speaks so that way you can hear God exactly the way that He needs you to hear Him, especially tonight of all nights. If you are new, I am so glad that this is the video that you clicked. If you are wondering about who God is, I am very glad that you clicked this video. If you are seasoned in your faith, I'm glad that you clicked this video, because I hope that you guys leave out of here. My heart's prayer is that people leave out of here with just a little bit of a better understanding of just who our God is. I don't want anybody to think that I'm singling them out on this channel, because again, my journey started almost 4 years ago, long before this channel. And I know that people on this channel have had conversations with me and may have said the same things that I'm going to talk about tonight, but I just want to let everybody know that what I have written, I have had written for almost 3 years. I know for certain, because it was after I left all the groups. It's after I came to the understanding of just how this was going to go for everybody and for myself, while I'm giving my testimony, while I'm out here shouting about what God has done for me. So back then it was filled with a lot more hurt and a lot more anger and a lot more. But this is exactly my heart poured out to God. Everything that I've done on this channel was written, and then I have to go back and rewrite and rework, because my heart isn't in the same place. I'm experiencing the same things, yeah, but my heart isn't where it was in the beginning. And a lot of the things that I have heard over this whole time is, I would never do that. I could never do that. I'm just supposed to let them, and I'm just supposed to accept it. And I feel like I take a look around and I'm like, I have accepted it in a way that you're asking me to. I have accepted it. Think about it. If I haven't accepted how everybody would feel in the response, I wouldn't be up here right now. Every time that I'm not up here and I push it off, is for my feelings, is for how I accept your response. And even more so, if I didn't accept it, my son would be here. If I had chosen my feelings and had been too afraid of of what the world would think, I would never have been obedient. I didn't place him and then tell everybody. He was still in my stomach. I was still pregnant. He was still in my belly. And I accepted when just about everybody around me disappeared, and I still had to step forward. And Jesus was there for me every step of the way. And I stood through all of that on God's strength. But you don't see that. There is one thing that most people see when they come here. And I've been accepting the fact that people want me to accept how they feel. And there is a difference. But I've been letting them. I've accepted it when people tell me to let them. I've accepted it when people tell me that they could never or they would never. What I don't think is that we fully understand what we are saying to not just me, but every single person out there that's listening right now, or out in the communities who's saying, people look at me like that. People say those things to me. People with the hair, the tattoos, or the piercings, people who can't afford to look the part. They don't have this perfect image of or this perfect story that we can relate to and say, oh yes, and fall into and praise them for. There are plenty of people out there that have had all of this said to, and we accept it because of everything that we hear. Everything, all the half-truths. They're not wrong when they say let them. They are not wrong when they say accept it. But they're not right either. And every time that I hear those things, see, this is where I fight with God. every time I hear those things and I accept it, he's asking me how much I'm willing to accept before we're misrepresenting exactly who our Father is. He's asking me how much I'm willing to accept before we don't realize exactly or represent exactly why he gave us Jesus in the first place. For all that grace and all that to lean into him. So I want to ask you a question. I like to start out with my questions. And I really want you to think about it, because if you don't hear anything else I say tonight, if you are new to God, or you're new to my channel, or you're coming back and you're just, however, if you don't hear anything else tonight, I hope that you hear just this little bit. Just this little bit. That's all. After that, I can ramble, I can whatever, and we can go about it. But if you don't hear this, I pray that you do. I pray that you really do. Because when we start asking God, or we start asking God about his plans for us, and we want him to know who he is and what he's about and what he has for us, we want to know who Jesus is and what he's offering us through all of it. When we just want to know, do we get to bring our lists along? Do we get to bring lists? Do we get to, like, all right, God, I'm ready to go. I'm ready. As long as you don't ask me this, or that, then we're good. Then we're good. I'm on board. Let's go. Let's do this. Right? I know. You guys have probably heard this version, this same thing, some version of this from somebody else somewhere else. I know. It's really just about how I got here. That really, let's be honest, not with me, but with God, within your hearts. There's just one thing that a lot of people see when they come here. I'm not speaking anything that's not true. I'm not saying anything that anybody else isn't saying. So let's just be honest with ourselves and ask what's really holding us up when we come here. I could be wrong. I don't know. And for me, it's cool. I mean, it's not, but I accept it. God, no, he doesn't. He doesn't accept it. And he wouldn't ask any of us to accept that, except how he's been misrepresented. So stick with me. We're going to get through it, because the truth is, the answer is no. We do not get to bring our lists. We don't get that. God calls, we respond, he lays out the plan, and then it's our choice. We get a choice. We don't get a say. We get a choice. We know this, right? But somehow, again, we know so much, but it's when we're faced with it. Somehow we still do it anyways, because deep down, we all face this. Sometimes we don't even know we have anything on our list until we're right in the middle of it and we're faced with it. And then when we're faced with it, we get another choice, and the cycle repeats itself, and it sucks and it's hard. And I get it. But that's the truth. That's the truth. We all go through it. And it's okay. But in order to fully surrender and be obedient, we have to lay that down. We have to take them off the list. And it's hard. I get it. But it's the defining moment. It is the defining moment. It's the moment that everybody talks about, where they say yes and they're filled and all of it, right? It is the defining moment. And once we're aware, Jesus steps in with that grace we talk so much about, saying, I get it, I hear you, I understand, but no, that's not how he works. It's either his way or not at all. We can do a whole bunch of things in between to, prolong his plan. But if it is God's plan, some way, somehow, some version of that is going to play out. Because that's the bigger message. His plan is set in stone since we were in our mother's wombs. And I know it sucks. It sucks sometimes. And by sucks, it means sometimes it completely breaks us into a million pieces. But it's the truth. That's the very basis on how God operates. You knock, or he knocks, you answer, he says this, you get a choice. We don't get a say, we get a choice. And we get a choice if we want to step into that or if we want to shut the door and turn back the other way. And that's how it works. So this is not new to me. You know, this whole response that everybody has is not new to me in general. It's just on a much bigger scale than I had ever been used to. In fact, God has been fine-tuning this gift he gave to me, and to be able to see and recognize what's going on here. He built in me the ability to accept things all my life and find a way to walk within it. I hope that we can clear up some things and understand where this acceptance comes from. And by acceptance, I mean me being accepting of you and how you guys are feeling about my testimony, about it all. We're going to dive into it. The very next video that I do is going to be the house that built me. And we're going to dive into the little town I lived in and just how accepting I had to be and how God really, really prepared me for this in more ways than one. You know, the town, my house, this ability that he gave me that is one that I've been fighting for a long time, and one that I've, had to use for protection and use for a lot of other things. And I've had to use it in going forward with the adoption. I just have been fighting having to use it here and not calling out, but saying the things that I'm recognizing through my experience that's going on here. When I leave and I'm saying, whoa, God, this is not who you are. This is not how you should be represented. It's not about me. And I've made that so clear. Because at one point it was about me. At one point it was about my self-preservation and how people felt about me as a mom and all of these things. There was a time it was about that. But that time has long passed when I accepted it and I was good. And now I see how God's being misrepresented by how everybody comes here and looks at me. I'm not a place you come to look at and say, oh, I would never do that. I could never do that. God's not here and pick me apart. That's not why I come up here and do this at all. Trust me. Because brothers and sisters, I am not the one who is making it about me. I have been telling you what he did for me. And every time you come here with the understanding that you have, the thoughts that you think, the feelings that you feel, and the silence that you hold, it takes it away from being about him. And then it makes it about me. Not for me, but for you. It doesn't matter just as much as it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter just as much as it does matter for him. It doesn't matter what my life looks like right now or the way God has blessed me and my family through this and more. It doesn't matter. None of it does. If I'm all you see, if this is the understanding that we have when we come here, if you're all sitting here thinking I'm in this false faith or following what, then what does it matter in the eyes of God? What is going on right now? What he's done for my life and my family? If that's all you guys see. Because if that's all you guys see, then he's being misrepresented out here, you guys. I'm not up here crying because I'm the one being misunderstood. I'm crying because I look around and he's misunderstood. He is misrepresented. I'm up here because of the things I hear that you don't say. I already know. And it doesn't matter what I've said before, and it doesn't matter what I have to say in any other video or anywhere else for that matter. It doesn't matter if we don't get this. If we don't get this, then we won't get any of it. We won't understand it. Because trust me, trust and believe me, brothers and sisters, I wouldn't have done this either. I couldn't have done this either. There was a time that I wouldn't. There was not at one point. It took me 7 months to get there. This was not an easy surrender. I didn't just see that pregnancy sign and God saying, I have a plan for my child. As much as he's my child, and we throw that around. When God came calling to me and saying, I got a plan for my child, I didn't just say, all right, Lord, here you go. He's all yours. Have fun with that. Whew, thank goodness. That didn't happen. I fought God every step of the way. For such a powerful, almighty God, then why can't you just put that in me? Why can't you just make that grow so I can bring him home? Why can't you do that? Trust me, me and God went through it. We went through it because I know, I know what it means to love a child fiercely. I am a mama bear to my core, and I'm not going to spend too much defending my love for my children. I'm not going to sit here and explain how deep and how fierce and how consuming it is, because anyone who truly understands that love already knows. In fact, the very fact that you guys come here and immediately feel the way that you do lets me know that you understand the fierce love of a child. What we don't understand, and God lets us know that, is how deep in the depths and what that truly can mean. And I got to see that. I got to witness that. So I don't question yours. If you're feeling like that, I already know. But I will say this, and I hope that in this whole video, you see the contradiction of it all, of everything that we say, and then what we do, and what God really, really asks of us, and how he truly, truly operates. But I will say this. I had 5 miscarries before I had my oldest. 5 that I prayed for, cried for, broke for, thinking I was never going to be a mom. I went from being okay and being so afraid because of how I grew up to thinking I didn't want to have kids. That when I did and I miscarried, the one thing that I knew on this earth is I was meant to be a mom, and I was meant to do it right. And when God finally blessed me with him, I made that promise. And he became the center of my world. He became my everything. Every selfish thing that I was doing or had done, I put it down. I would never shut it off again. This gift he gave me, I would never shut it off again, because I would shut him out. And I knew that. I knew well enough then. And I still didn't even come into the Lord. I still didn't find my faith and come up here strong and look what God did for me. I still didn't, because I still didn't fully understand. I fully didn't get it. And then when I had my second child, I did it again. And I looked at the life I had growing up, and I knew they would never, ever, for an ounce, know any of things, any of that life, nothing. We break cycles around here. Every decision I made, every sacrifice, every choice I refused to make, it's all because of the love of my child, all of my children. And if you doubt that for 1 second, I'll tell you like I tell everybody around me, and they'll tell you the same, baby, try me. Try me. And anybody out there that does know the love of a child that fierce knows the weight of those words when I say try me. Any day, any week, baby, try me. Because it'll go down. And it'll happen. That's what the hardest thing for everybody around me. It made it so hard for them to understand the things that I was saying and the decision that I made and my why and who was leading the way, because of the mom that I was, because of the mom or the mom that I am and the aunt that I was, because I don't see them anymore. But it was so hard for them to wrap themselves around that I was saying this because of the mom that I am. And I don't see them anymore. Now my family, not the ones that should have been there. And I have to accept it. I have to. Because what other choice do I have? Because I'm so much closer to him, and everything that he did for me during that time, I will remain faithful to him. I look around and I have so much faith that this will be different. That I don't care what's out there. I don't care what we see, because I have so much faith that this will be different. Not because of this world, not because of the people in it. I have faith because of what God said to me. I have seen Jesus in awe of his true position. I have seen God do exactly what we all say he does. And that's where my loyalty lies. And that's where my trust falls. We say it all the time. God has been here for me, and Jesus has been there for me the whole time. But that one moment, he revealed himself to me in a way he's never revealed himself. And the peace that washes over us and everything. We say it all the time. But that's exactly what people and where people misunderstand God's hand in this. They look at me and think I would never do that. But they are missing the point. Because if God had planned for it, if he had called them to it, then what? Then what? Would they have been obedient, or would they have ignored him? I'm not judging the answers, brothers and sisters. I'm just asking the question, because that's what I wrestled with for months. Do I be obedient to what my Father is telling me, asking me, showing me? Or do I just ignore it? Because make no mistake, he was there. People act like I missed the point. But all I have ever asked is, what if God asks this of you? Not because I think he will, but because he does ask the hard things. And if we decide that God wouldn't do that without actually listening, we are making him smaller than he is. We are misrepresenting the very basis of who God is. I hear it all the time. I hear it all the time. So it's not just here. It's been everywhere. And that I want to reiterate that as much as possible. This has been my whole experience. These are the only things that the majority of people are saying to me. You know, I've wrestled with God because this isn't my job to come up here and say any of this, right? Again, because of all the things. Oh, you're not supposed to do that. Oh, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do that. And God really had to take me through the Bible and show me that, yes, Ashley, exactly this. exactly this. Especially, we're not just talking about the few who look at me like this and think these questions and say these things, whether out loud or in their hearts. It's not just a few that understand, or it's not just the few who think that, versus the mass of people that see God and understand that, yeah, we don't get a choice. If he called it, she was obedient, it broke her. We understand, sis, we get it. No, it's not. It's the mass lean into their feelings and feel whatever they feel, versus the very few people that can understand and recognize and grasp the fact that regardless of how they feel, God was there, and it was good, and it was right. Not the decision, not for them, maybe, no, but for his plan, for me listening, for being obedient, for him remaining faithful, for him blessing my family, for him blessing the process in general, and where it all landed. Yeah. So no, we're not just talking about the few. We're talking about the very many people who are in this understanding and have these lists on their heart. And they're just walking away like they're okay with that understanding, and they're misrepresenting who God is. And that's where I stand. I just lost. I'm gonna pause. But I hear it all the time. I hear it all the time. God told you to, and that's amazing. I mean, I could never, but good for you. But do you hear it? Do you hear it? God told you to, and that's amazing. I mean, I could never, but good for you. Do you hear the contradiction? Because if we truly believe God's will is good, if we truly believe obedience is what matters, then why is there even a but in that sentence? Because what I did goes against every fiber in us. Or because of their hair, or because of their piercings, or because of their tattoos all over their body, or they don't look the part, It's not just me. But I had to ask myself, at what point did it become more about control and territory and knowing that he is mine and that's my son and I love him so fiercely? That's my territory. That came out of me. He's a piece of me. When did it become more about that? Because we see that too. We absolutely see that too. At one point did it become more about that than about love and what was best, what was truly best? God knows best. We believe that. We say that so boldly to everyone, that God knows best. And I know he truly does, but do you know that he truly knows best in every situation? Again, I can't speak for people who aren't sitting in the name of Christ. Which leads me to my best friend. Let me tell you about my best friend that I always talk about, okay? I feel like people think that, if they see what God did in this situation, that they're saying, "Oh, praise adoption, I'm on board. She did the right thing." You know what I mean? I feel like they think that if they share in my joy, they're thinking about what they're really sharing in, if that makes sense. And I get it. I understand it. So, my best friend, because she's been around since my whole life. Kindergarten, I've known her. We became really close in high school. I've talked about it before. But I really don't talk about her much. So way back, if you've been following along, I mentioned that my sister-in-law, who has had many complications with having kids, she's older than me, and she has had many miscarriages, and she does not have any children. And then my best friend, who had complications having children, and she was never able to get pregnant. Okay, so she's a few years older than me. I had my oldest when I got pregnant with him at 25 and had him at 26. She was already married, locked down, loaded for years, trying to have a baby. Could never. So she got to watch me go through 5 miscarries in that period of time, then finally have my oldest. And then 3 years later, she finally had her son. Now she is built and would have, if God allowed her to have 20 babies. She's just built for that. I mean, we've known each other. She's known me. In spite of me being afraid to be a mom in the beginning, I always knew that I was never going to. She talked about 10 babies. I talked about two, maybe 3, but I never, ever. I was very nervous about 3. There was always a reason why I couldn't go past 2, even way back then. Okay. So I have Oliver about 3 years later, because her son is 5 right now. Camden's 5 right now, but at some point he'll be 6 and he'll be 5. So she got her son. Then I had Camden. And all this time she's trying to bing, bang, boom. If she could try, bing, bang, boom. If it was God's will, she would have babies like 60 days apart. Okay. And yeah, yes, for her. Yeah. And it breaks my heart. So then she got to see me. No, I was done. Very vocal. Done. Yeah, I know what God's telling me, that I'm done raising kids. I can't do this again. I'm at my limit. My plate is full. And she understood because she's been around, But she also had to watch it all from her position and where she was. Think about that for a second. And she was there for me every step of the way. So she got to see when I got pregnant with my 3rd child. She got to see me go through everything. She got to see me decide that I could not do this. She got to see why. She got to see who I was leaning on. She got to see it all in the position that she's in. And I cry to her all the time. Like, I feel like if anybody was going to hate me, I feel like if anybody was going to feel the way that they do about me, she would be the first in line to be able to feel that way. And I would be so okay with that because that makes sense to me. And I ask her all the time, why? She doesn't even claim his name. And she acts more like the people I feel that are sitting in his name should be. Even she looks at it when I ask her, and she says, Ash, I can't deny it. I can't deny exactly what happened here and what I seen and what God did for you and how right it was for you, why this had to happen for you. And as hard as it was for her, she was there for me every step of the way. And I can't imagine how that felt for her, but she never let me know. And every time I ask her, she just lets me know, Ash, because it's what's right. It was what needed to be done. And God has been good to you because of it. And I tell her, I get so angry. Like, I wish my fellow brothers and sisters would understand that a little bit better. I wish that they would see, I cry to my husband and he even says, and he's not even, and he would say, I just wish people were here so that they could have felt and seen exactly what God and Jesus did for me. I've said it before. But I told her, I said, it's a shame that you see more of what God did for me than my brothers and sisters. And if you can see what God did for me, then maybe we need to get it together out here. Okay? Maybe our understanding of God, maybe my understanding of God isn't wrong. Maybe our understanding of just how he operates and what he is actually capable of is beyond our understanding. I don't know. The same thing he's been telling us the whole time. I'm just saying. But so recently, if you guys, have been following along, I said my sister-in-law and my best friend was pregnant. And then my sister-in-law sadly lost hers, and she found answers through that. At the same time, as hard as it was, we had everybody praying that let this be the time, Lord, that she doesn't just lose, but she gains something, some understanding. So we are praying that she gets on the right track and something could be done. But she is also getting to the point where she understands that maybe God's asking her to be a mom to so many other people that need a mom. I can attest to that. You know, me and my mom's relationship was not very pleasant, to say the least. And yeah, so I was always looking for a mom and a dad and a family. Gosh, when I broke up with boyfriends, most of the time I was more sad about, you know, breaking up with their family than I was breaking up with them. You know what I mean? Oh gosh, but that's for the next video. Anyway, so sadly she lost it, and they found out within like 3 days of each other that they were pregnant at the same time, within the same week, days apart. And my best friend, God willing, she was fine. And she has about 15 more weeks to go in her pregnancy. And it's been awesome and good. And I'm so happy for her. I've always told her, like, girl, there's no way that, like, selfish, there's no way God would do this and have you sit here watching me and not, and just not. And I prayed so hard for her. But now that it happened, she calls me one night, and I don't think she realizes it, and I think that she does. But there was a reason why God had her call me, not just anybody. But there's a reason why she had that conversation with somebody like me. And I think a lot of people around here are sitting out there thinking, like, if somebody was like pregnant and nervous, they're going to be like, oh, you nervous? I got the adoption agency on speed dial. Like, I can hook it up right now. What? No. And I feel like God gave me this conversation to give example to that, and for a lot of other reasons. But she called me freaking out. Like, she's older than me. I'm 35. I know everybody's out there like, girl, that's not old, but she's a little bit older than me, and she's nervous. Like, Ash, if like I could hear the fear in her voice when she was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can mentally, physically, emotionally do this anymore. If it was 5 years ago, yeah. If it was 3 years ago, if it was a little, yeah. But she's like, Ash, I don't know if I can do this right now, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And my heart was so with her, but I laid it out to her in a way that I don't think I fully, honestly laid it out to myself. And this is what I told her. When I was pregnant with my first, God was there. I was scared. Every new mom is, but you push past that and you feel something deep down past that lets you know that you're going to be just fine. No matter how scared you are, that's just normal. That is normal, being scared. And then I thought Ollie was enough for a while. I was like, oh yeah, my plate is full. I'm good with just one who I will love forever. And then time went on, and you know, even then something deep down was like, push comes to shove, you really could, and I know you could. And I feel that was God. That was God. That is the very basis. It's been the same source my whole life. That same thread that He has in me, that gift that He has in us all. It's just hard. And some are very more, I'd say I'm a spoiled rich kid of hearing Him, because some have been turned up their whole lives and we just didn't understand what it was. But it was there. It was there letting me know. And then when I got pregnant my third time, no matter how much I cried out to God, no matter how much I begged Him to please don't do this to me. Like, I know what I got myself into here, but please don't do this to me. As much as I fought Him, and I was afraid, and I was fearing, and I was doubting, if I pushed past that, that wasn't there. That feeling, that voice, it just wasn't there. It was there with my first, it was there with my second, when I thought I was kicking my husband out and we weren't even going to be together and I was going to be doing it by myself. It was there. It was there to let me know. And then when I got pregnant with my third son, it was gone. It was not there. What was there was God saying, I need this to happen over here. I need you to listen to me, and I need this to happen. But the most scariest thing, put God aside for a second, that wasn't there. And I told her, and that was the most dangerous feeling I ever felt in my life. And I don't care what anybody thinks about me, because if they looked within themselves and that was gone, it just wasn't there. It wasn't normal fear. It wasn't normal doubt. It wasn't normal any of the things that we experience. Because when I pushed past all that, there was nothing there but alarm bells going off saying, you better listen to God. You better let Jesus do his thing. And I will spend the rest of my life having people look at me the way they do, because at the end of the day, what I felt was I was protecting everyone. Because if that's not there, then I had no business bringing him home. And that's something that I will have to deal with for the rest of my life and come to terms with for my human self. But I cannot deny what God did for me. I cannot deny what Jesus did for me. And when I told her all of this, she's 9, I said, and I hope I make sense. I hope that you understand me and my craziness. And she's like, no, Ash, I do. I do understand exactly what you're saying. And when I push past all of that, that is there. And I said, girl, you hold on to that, because that's God letting you know that he's going to be there for you every step of the way. So no, I'm not sitting here saying anybody who's afraid. I'm not looking to start, no, on board adoption. Like, here you go, you're afraid. Like, no. But if I have to be a grounding point to let people know that they're just afraid, that you're just scared, then I'll be that. I absolutely will. And if somebody decides that it's not there, I guess they need to know that it's going to be okay and God's going to get you. God will have you if nobody else does. God will, and as long as you're listening to him, he will remain faithful and he'll see it through. And it doesn't have to be like everything else. Mine wasn't. People have heard the story. I called them, letting them know who his parents were, and I need you to help me. So much happened before I called that agency. And there's a lot. It's complex. It is. But I would be lying if I didn't say that. God put that in place for a reason. And we just did the human thing that we always do with it. I'll get to that. But yeah, I told her, I said, you hang on to that. You feel that. And that's God. Whether she believes it's God or just her conscience or a feeling or whatever. I think she understood the difference of what she's feeling is very normal. What I was feeling was not normal at all. It was unsafe. And I guess I'll have people look at me however they look at me. And I do accept that. But what I don't accept is how we're misrepresenting what God's capable of and who he is and what Jesus is all for when we react the way we do about him and what he did for me. Because I'm not sad because my channel or my following or my, at this point, I went through whatever I did when my family walked away, and I really had to lean on the fact that Jesus or God will remove and bring. Just taking the bringing part is where I have a hard time with. But I'm not sad because I'm not sad because of my chant or the following or any of those things, because it's really not about me. I'm sad because people see this as me instead of seeing him. In 4 years that I've been at this, almost, only a handful of people have actually sat with me in this. Not to question my decision, but to ask where God was in it. Not for me, but for themselves. Now, as brothers and sisters, I get it. I get it as a humanly possibly can. I get it. I get it as humans. I get it. I get it. I get it more than what I get and what I've experienced within leadership, with pastors, and anyone so boldly teaching. Because let's be honest, we look to them for guidance, compassion, understanding, light, a source. And most importantly, the truth, his word above all. Now, they're not perfect. They're not above us, brothers and sisters out here. But anybody claiming God has put them in that position, we hold them higher. Not higher above Jesus, not higher above God. And we know they're not perfect. We know that they're not above it. But of anyone, they should know. They should be more equipped. They should be more obedient, not to lean into themselves. The word is the word. The Bible speaks of these people just as well as he lets us know of the false prophets and the false gods. And yet, this is what I smile because I don't want to cry. In 4 years that I've walked this road, only one pastor has reached out to me. Only one pastor has had a conversation with me. And again, I'm not judging. That's between all of them and God. But what does it say? What does it say? What does it mean? What does it allow? If you are in leadership, you know the word. You see what's happening. You hear the words I speak, and yet you say nothing. What does it allow? You see the silence. You see the awkwardness. You see everything that's happening here. Don't say you don't. You should. And I'm not questioning whether you believe in Christ. What I'm questioning is this. What are you doing with that belief when it costs something? When it costs you to step out and recognize to the people that you're leading, like, whoa, this is not how we are supposed to be representing God towards anyone, period. I'm not questioning, again, whether you believe in Christ. What I'm questioning is this. What are you doing with that belief when it costs something? Because your silence isn't neutral. It allows things I know you wouldn't be preaching up there on a pulpit. It allows people to believe that God leaves the obedient to stand alone. It allows judgment to go unchecked, as if obedience should always look safe and acceptable. It allows people to think that because they would never, then surely God wouldn't ask of it. He wouldn't ask anybody that. Is that true? That is not who God is. But when you as a leader see that belief growing and say nothing, what are you really leading? I'm not asking to be judgy. I'm not asking this for myself. I'm saying it because I know what happens when people believe in a God who only operates within their comfort. That's not the God of the Bible. And if we don't challenge that lie when we see it, what exactly are we teaching? And from where I'm sitting and how how his hands have been all over this, it seems to me that God has done something only he could. And I can't wait to see what comes of it. And that's where my joy lies. That's where I can't wait. I cannot wait. From the moment I realized how this would unfold, I prayed for one person, just one person who would truly hear, who would move from one understanding to another, from seeing life a certain way to recognize that God was here too. The one who would see him through me, not see me, not see what I did, but see him. Not just somebody I shared everything with, but someone who came to me and said, I was uncomfortable, but I did what Jesus asked of us. The very person I've been praying for, a reminder that every person matters. Every life matters. That prayer wasn't a demand. I didn't stop when he didn't answer right away. I kept speaking, kept obeying, kept doubting, fearing, and feeling too. But when I fully surrendered to the fact that I may never see that person, people have been telling me, I know, I may never see it. God sent them. Because there was so much that I had to understand before he sent that person. And I didn't even recognize it when he sent them. It was like 2:00 in the morning. And I'm just like bawling my eyes out like, I don't want to go up there again, Lord. This is pointless. This is absolutely pointless for me to put myself through this. Not pointless for him. I get it. But for me, yeah, it's pretty pointless. And then it dawned on me. And he said, Ash, I have sent you everything that you've asked me during this situation. Everything that you've asked, I've been so faithful in. And then it just, that person popped in my, oh my gosh. Unknowingly, we've been having conversations for a while now. And they had been telling me all of these things that they had to do because they came to my channel. And he's like, what more do you want, Ash? What more do you want? And that person has been on my heels because they went from the way they've seen to, you need to go up there and say that stuff. Now they're aligned with exactly what God's been telling me for years. To come up here, you need to say this. You need to speak it. Not to judge, not to come out, but for the representation of who God is. And it was just, I don't know, they weren't drawn in by curiosity or validation, but by a genuine desire to seek God through this. They revisited my words, not for views, but for their faith, for understanding how God was working, not through me, but through them even. They moved from doubt to obedience, living out Jesus's teachings, not for approval, but for the transformation that comes from true surrender to God's will. To God's will. Do I wrestle with it? All the time. All the time. This was the biggest thing I've ever had to wrestle with God about. This is my child. Yeah, I wrestled with it. And I know my son will have feelings and questions one day, and they will be valid. So valid. And maybe This is part of how God's preparing me for that day. So that way, when he does come, God willing, I will know what to say. I will know. And I have faith in that. But I also know this. His parents love him with every single ounce of their bodies. I have faith in them. I have faith in something that I never thought was possible. I have faith in God's plan. And no matter how different this walk looks, I'm following exactly as he leads. And when our fellow brothers and sisters come here and all they see is something they could or could not do, it's not me who missed it. It's them. It assumes that either God wasn't there or God would never ask such a thing. And I'm over here like, Lord, I did not know you was retiring or taking applications. Somebody needed to let me know. I never get the memo. I'm so slow. So that could be the case, but I don't think he is. I don't think he is retiring anytime soon. I'm not sure. But my question is then, why wasn't he? And why wouldn't he? And it's such a true question. It's such a valid question to ask. Why wasn't he there? And why wouldn't he ask this? And that brings me to Moses' mother. Yes, Moses' mother. We talk about Moses, rightfully so. That is God's plan lived out and happening. That's the main event. So no, we wouldn't have a big book on Moses' mother or this whole traumatic scene. That's just no. We talk about being a vessel. We see it in scripture. Some people were literal vessels. Moses' mother, she was one of them. Does anybody know her name by chance? It starts with a J. And better yet, do you guys know what her name means? I would love to know if you guys know that. But I wouldn't blame you if you didn't, because again, she's not the important person in that story, right? But she also had a choice, just like us, just like me, just like everybody when God comes a knocking, right? She had a choice. She had a choice to keep her son beside her or send him down that river. Imagine if she hadn't. I want to take it back. Imagine if she hadn't. Imagine if she held on because of her own love. But she didn't. She put it all down. Not because she was throwing him away, not because she didn't love him, but because she was trusting in God. She was obedient. And she sent that baby down the river. Okay? And you know what? That broke her. You don't have to tell me that. And then Jesus stepped in, and you don't have to tell me that either. And I'm not saying my son is the next Moses. I'm not. But as mothers, as parents in general, especially brothers and sisters sitting in faith and with Christ, especially, don't we want greatness for our kids? Don't we want them to thrive and succeed and know nothing of the bad things that we knew in our lives? The darkness that we have seen, no matter what your darkness looks like. We don't want them to know any of it, to protect them. Because that's what we do. That's our job, right? But sometimes being a vessel isn't about being the main character in the story. Sometimes being a vessel means carrying something and then trusting God with it, even when it costs everything. Because if God is the one leading the way, there is a purpose. I am proof of that. And there are so many people out here that are proof of that. My story isn't nothing new. It's just a little hard to wrap your head around, is all. But there is a purpose, even when we can't see it yet. And we all know that. We talk about it so much. Because if we know our God, when he lays bare everything that we have done and then lays out a path, there is nothing more or nothing less he asks of us for his plan. We have a choice, follow or not. I think about the months she held out, Moses' mom. The months she kept him, I think it was 3. And then a bigger plan kind of God. What was all delayed while she fought that fierce love? I don't blame her for it. But we know that. We know we can delay. We know we can go around. But what was all delayed in the time? What was all delayed in the 7 months that I held out? Abraham understood this better yet. Because make no mistake, brothers and sisters, make no mistake. Abraham was listening to exactly what God was telling him. He took Isaac up there. He bound him. Make no mistake that if that was something God called him to follow through with, he would have. I don't think many understand that. If our God was capable of that, because if it shows us anything, it shows us one thing. God would never ask us to do that when it comes to his children. He would never ask of that. That's where he drew the line. But do not get it twisted for a minute that God was showing Abraham that at any time he could ask him to trust him more than even the fierce love of his child. Make no mistake. And I think a lot of people need to let that sink in. We like to throw around this, well, they're really God's children. They're our gifts here. They're borrowed to us, but they're really his, and he can call them and he could take that and he could do all of these things whenever he wants because they're really his. As much as they're ours, they're really his. They came from him, right? We just throw that around like we fully understand it. And make no mistake, there are brothers and sisters, non-brothers and sisters out here right now that fully understand the weight of those words. And they have to live with it every day, especially if God calls their child home. They understand. They fully understand that borrowed time. And my heart is with them. But make no mistake, brothers and sisters, God clearly drew the line. But let's not forget Abraham was up there and he done bound him. And if our God was capable of that, capable of asking us of that, Abraham would have done that because he was being obedient to God. And God clearly drew the line and said, make no mistake though. You got to trust me over the love that you have for your child. So I think what God wants people to think about when they come across me or others is not that you could never, or for them to accept it, accept how you're feeling, accept how you're thinking about them, but to understand how blessed they are that he didn't ask this of them, that he didn't ask that of you. To truly feel what it means to count your blessings. And I mean that. Count them. When you come here, be blessed that he didn't ask. To be blessed that this wasn't part of your plan. Because make no mistake, he could have. He very much could have. He's God. Which begs the question, if he had, where would most of you be sitting right now? And you don't have to answer that. I'm not looking for you to answer me. Again, take that in your heart. Take that in your heart and go. And think about it. Not just here, but what if he would have had, take the hardest thing that you could imagine that you're saying he would never do. And imagine if he would have asked you because he could. And if he had, where would you be sitting right now? And if we don't understand that, then we truly don't understand him. And I pray for you. It doesn't mean that it's not, that doesn't need to understand this one. There's a lot that I need to understand. But this one is not one of them. And I truly, and I pray, and I hope that you guys come to an understanding, a better understanding of just how our Father operates. And there are things that we don't get to do or say in this moments. We get a choice, but we don't get a say. And that's it. That's all I have for you. I hope you have a wonderful evening. I hope I do see you around for the next video. And I hope that we can come to understand just as much how much I really mean it when I have had no choice but to accept how you feel and what you're thinking. I've had to do that all my life. But it's just not about me anymore. And it's not about me. And it's not even about him or his parents or my family and my life. It's about God. It really, truly is about God. And that's not God. That's not how he works. You guys have a blessed night. And I will see you when I see you.